Hey guys, it's HPI Guy from the friendly forums at Ultimate RC and the RC Spec Studio forums. And this is my Exceed RC Maxstone 10 4-wheel drive ready to run rock crawler review. This I got from $150 shipped from Amazon.com. You can get it from Nitrorcx.com, but I got mine from Amazon. Either way, they're both going to be roughly around the same price. But it's $150. It's 4-wheel drive. It's mainly all aluminum and has lock diffs. So taking this body, well actually first off, the body itself is made of PVC. It's not Lexan, just to know about that. It will crack if you put it through abuse. But in a crawler I think it's just fine. But taking off the body, what you will find is a twin vertical plate chassis design, which is a little bit dated, but it's twin vertical plates and it looks very familiar to the axial Axe 10 Scorpion, but I do not believe that is a clone, as several other URC members do not, as there's a big clone debate on whether or not certain models are clones or not and stuff like that. And so I asked about this one, and several parts will not fit from the Axe 10 Scorpion without modification, including the diff lockers, so I do not call it a clone. But it is very, very similar to it. It's pretty much mainly aluminum construction on it. In the electronics department, we have a brushed only ESC. It does not have a LiPo cutoff, and it is supposedly waterproof from the little sticker there. We'll talk about more on that later. And the receiver is 4 channels, compatible with FlySky, and it also says it's waterproof. In fact, all the electronics have a little sticker labeling that it's waterproof. The motor is the 540 sized silver can brushed motor, and I do not have any specs on that. There are some on the can. I looked. It does not say how many turns it is. It does not say how many turns it is on Nitrorcx's website or Amazon, so I do not know really very many specs. It's your basic silver can brushed motor though. The servo is standard size. It has all metal gears and 9 kilograms of torque. I do not have a spec on how fast it is. It's a little bit slow though, but in the deep crawler like this is just fine. And it is also claims to be waterproof as well. Underneath it, it has a sticker that says waterproof. So the radio is 2.4 gigahertz. It has steering trim, throttle trim, steering dual rate, throttle dual rate, and reversing. It takes 4 AA batteries. Nothing real special here. It gets the job done. And no 4 AA's are included in the package. However, you will need to supply your own to power the radio. So for this review, I will be doing the negatives first, and then finish off with the positives. And so let's get started. So negatives, my first thing I'm going to talk about though is how many parts broke on this car, as that's my main concern with all my RCs, is because RCs are supposed to be fun, and if they break, they are not usable and they're not fun. So first thing I'm going to talk about is how much parts I broke on it in my 1 month of ownership on this car. So one of the things that I broke, I'll start from the minor and work my way up the ladder here, is a servo horn. Snapped in half while going through one of the rock pits while I was camping. But honestly, stuff like that is going to happen with RC rock crawlers, especially if it doesn't have a servo saver and it has metal steering links. Stuff like that's going to happen. So $2 later, and I have a new one on there, and it has been working fine. So the second thing that I broke, the second least major thing I broke out of 3 parts, is the diff locker. So this is a plastic diff locker. This one is actually still doing fine. This was up the front. I broke the rear one. What happens is the hole right here, you see it's in a little slot that the axle shaft slides into, and it rounded itself out. So $30 later, I got aluminum ones in the axles, and that I highly recommend that upgrade. I have not had those break, and instead of keep going through plastic ones, it would be much smarter to get the aluminum ones, and I highly recommend them. They're a bolt-on fit from Hobby Parts. You might need to do a little bit of sorting through their stuff, as they called it like a really weird, they had called their parts really weird names, almost like Chinglish, but I got it in, and it's been holding up great. And so my last break that I had in my 1 month of ownership, and the biggest break, is an axle shaft cracked and twisted itself. It cracked right at the yoke up here. It's really hard to tell on the camera, but it cracked up there. And I'm going to rant on this for a little bit, because not many people do. It is unacceptable to produce a shafty rock crawler that comes with shafts that will break. I don't care if it's an RTR, I don't care if it's not an axial, I don't care if they're plastic. They need to be able to stand up to even light rock crawling. I wasn't even hardly doing anything and it snapped. Nitrorcx and Exceed RC should know that this is a very stressed part, and this truck does not have a slipper clutch. So that means there's no outlet for all that power to go through. So if they're not going to opt out of putting in a slipper clutch, they need to make the shaft there durable enough, and as well as many of the other driveline components, they need to make it up to specs. I was able to twist mine back with needle nose pliers and seal it off with CA glue, and hold it in place with needle nose pliers while it sets, and it hasn't done anything since. But I mean, still, that part should not have broken. I mean, if they're not going to put a slipper clutch in that truck, they need to make them tolerable of massive torque. So no slipper clutch, no outlet for power, and that is what happens. And Nitrorcx should know and take that into consideration, making that part beefier on this truck. So the good news is nothing else broke. Many parts are made really beefy, and that is a really good thing. Like the aluminum, I did not expect to feel this thick and durable. I expected it to be much thinner, and it was really good. The axle housings are really beefy. I'm happy to report the plastic gears and the transmission have been holding up just fine. Even though they are plastic, they do the job, and they're holding up just fine. So now I'm going to move on to the positives, and talk about if it's a good value or not, because that's also a really big question mark about this truck. So now I'm going to talk about the positives. First off, I'm really happy with my $150. I know it's not an axial, but honestly, this truck has been a complete blast to own. Secondly, the waterproofing on this truck, which you should see a clip soon, hopefully. The waterproofing, good job. It is great. The waterproofing, you should see it driving through a creek. Off camera, I actually submerged it because there was a drop off. It continued to work underwater like a submarine, and I was able to drive it back up. Nothing went out with me while I was driving through water. So good job. They advertise as waterproof. It is indeed waterproof. Don't worry if you throw it in the pool, or if your baby brother gets a hold of it, pours his whatever all over it, it will live. It is really good job on waterproofing. Third off, I was not looking for articulation. I was not trying to find any more. This thing has got it. I mean, look at that. That's almost 90 degrees of articulation. So that's really good, because it's always good. You can always limit your articulation, you know, like putting like some tubing over the shock shaft or something like that to limit it instead of trying to find more. So good job on the geometry. Speaking of geometry, I don't know if it's just mine. I think many others know about this, but the front links are actually bent. to fix some geometric issues that they were having before. So that worked really good. So good job on that. Exceed. They updated it. Now you got bent leaks up front. One of the things that has sometimes stopped people from buying this car, or has been a big complaint from many other Maxstone 10 owners, is that the car used to exhibit a lot of torque twist. So what that means is when it would go forward, it would lean over to the side. When it would go up on a steep rock, it would really bend over. But Exceed has fixed that issue. Now mine comes with much harder springs, which does not limit its articulation as you saw before, and they also added some preload to them, and they fixed the torque twist. I tested that in my unboxing video, and even still with some braking in, there is no torque twist. So good job with that. When you do go a rock, when you do go up a rock, however, that's too steep, and then the back end gets caught on something, it will twist. However, it does. In extreme situations, it will twist. But going forward and backwards is normally it will not twist. So that's a good improvement that Exceed RC did. So now I want to talk about value. So, do I like this crawler? I love this crawler. This thing is awesome. I really do like it a ton. When I go hiking or camping or just playing around the yard, it's a ton of fun. Is it worth my $150? Yes, it is. I'm a cheapskate in this hobby, but I think that it is worth every penny that I paid for it. Who would I recommend this to? I think this fits quite a large spectrum of the hobbyists. But beginners, I would say don't get this. Mainly because Nitrorcx's customer support is iffy. Part support is iffy. Their quality control is a little bit iffy also. And that can really put off a noob if they get their car out of the box and it doesn't function, and they call Nitrorcx and they say, "We'll go deal with it." Kind of attitude, it's not going to work out well. So, however, if you are a moderately experienced hobbyist, and you have always been interested in crawling and you don't want to break the bank on an axial or RC four-wheel drive bully or something along those lines, and you're just looking for an introductory to see if crawling is for you, this thing's perfect. That's exactly what I did, and that's exactly what I wanted, and this thing is great. If you are an experienced crawler dude and you are looking for something to take off parts of for several projects, or you want to convert this into like a scaler, or you want to do a Ultra 4 build or something like that, this is also a great inexpensive starting platform to work with. If you are really experienced and you just are looking for something for family and friends to drive, this is perfect also. It's very reliable, and I couldn't ask for more, honestly. Another thing I want to cover is the front and rear bumpers, as many people have complained about them getting hung up on everything. You need to Dremel them off and use a Dremel and custom cut the axles and blah blah blah. I did not notice them getting in the way, actually, even though in my unboxing video I pointed them out and said they wouldn't be good. They have been fine, actually. They have not held back the performance of this truck at all. From my experience, I've never had them get hung up on anything. So I bet if you're planning to comp crawl, it might get hung up, but it's not as bad as a bunch of people have put it. So that's also a good thing. The last thing that I want to cover on this rig is, will this be staying in my garage? Yes. I am planning on owning this car long term. This thing has earned its spot in my garage. So I am very happy with this truck. It has not been recommended nearly enough. And many people also do classify all of Exceed RC cars as junk, and this one's not. It is a really good car. So, thanks for watching. Once again, this is the HPI guy from the Ultimate RC Forums and RC Spark Studio Forums. And if you like this review, please hit thumbs up. If you didn't like it, please hit thumbs down. But my only favor I want to ask you is, if you hit thumbs down, please explain why in the chat box. No, not the chat box, the comments box on YouTube. So that way I can further improve my reviews and videos. Because if you just hit thumbs down, and I don't even know why, that doesn't help me. But if you explain, then I'll definitely take into consideration. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.